Oi, ever wonder where that fish you were eating came from? Probably China, but let's pretend it came from Australia. Which brings me to today's topic, overfishing in Australia. Many once diverse species in Australia are now listed on the endangered species list. That's affecting much more than just those fish. It's affecting many species and much wildlife in Australia because some kinds of sharks and rays that are only exclusive to Australia. 70 species out of 230 in the world are now at risk of becoming endangered because they do not have any fish to eat and they're not getting any food, which sadly caused them to start dying off. From about a 10-year period from 2005 to sometime in 2015, the fish population dropped 33%. That's like a lot of fish. Now, while Australia has gotten to a point where it's pretty much irreversible the effect that they've caused to the ocean, there is stuff being done. There's many movements in Australia, too many to list out, but some of the main ones are no fishing marine reserve where there's no way for anybody to fish in them, and it's big old areas because fish need space. Why did this just turn off? In fact, Australia is home to the largest marine wildlife park in the world, with over 2.76 million kilometers that are owned by this one park. Some things that have led up to this issue are little relevant data for decision making related to ecological issues, a lack of no fishing reference areas to scientifically assess impacts of fishing, poorly documented stock assessments with a limited public accessibility, management decisions made by committees dominated by industrial aligned members, short-term catch maximization prioritized over precaution, fishery models that rarely consider species interactions or climate impacts, and wider effects of fishing on ecosystems and their resilience to multiple pressures are overlooked. In English, there's been pretty much nothing done until recently, and only time will be able to tell if this issue is ever resolved. While there's been a lot of issues with fish in Australia, some of the humans are getting it just as bad. Many Australians are currently struggling with substance abuse, with the majority going untreated. One of Australia's greatest dangers is alcohol. Nearly 6,000 people die from alcohol-related diseases every year in Australia. That's one person every 90 minutes. Possibly due to its legality, many Australians tend to overlook some of the health risks that come with using alcohol. And alcohol can be just as dangerous as using illicit drugs. The World Health Organization determined that Australians were consuming 11.2 liters of pure alcohol per person per year. There were an average of 400 hospitalizations alcohol-related each day from 2012 to 2013 in Australia. That comes out to 146,000 a year. In 2015, there were a total number of 5,785 deaths from alcohol-related diseases. This follows a trend of roughly 6,000 deaths every year. Alcohol obviously causes a huge problem, but some of the drugs are things you might not consider to be drugs, really. Many of the drugs that are causing deaths in Australia are actually prescribed by doctors. As of 2017, doctors in Australia were cumulatively writing 14 million prescriptions for opioids painkillers every year. While this may not seem dangerous, 1 in 10 who are prescribed an opioid become addicted. That means there are potentially 1.4 million Australians currently addicted to opioids. There's a huge issue throughout the whole entire world right now with opioid addiction, but Australia is by far taking the hardest hit from all of that. In total, there were 2,023 deaths by drugs in Australia in 2015. 69% of drug-related deaths in Australia are due to prescription drugs, and 10% of Australians who are prescribed with an opioid or painkiller become addicted. However, there are things being done in Australia to help with this addiction issue. There are therapies for people who suffer with this addiction that's basically caused their body to be rewired to feel the need for that drug. And without taking a medical approach to recovering from an addiction, the person suffering will have a harder time and be much more likely to relapse. Australians, there's programs that can help you recover from addictions. And if you have questions or anything, there's dedicated treatment providers to reach out to. And they're always there to answer questions, no matter who you are. Now, this has been another episode of Big Dorsey's News. Yeah.